The story follows Aster, once a powerful troubleshooter for the prestigious Decolon Mage family, was born a lowly vagrant from the Grey Zone. After rebelling against his masters, he was hunted down and killed. But instead of dying for good, he wakes up in his past, back when he was just a street rat. Now, with all his memories and magical knowledge intact, Aster sets out to rewrite his fate and rise again, this time on his own terms. Let's kick off today's recap. But before we dive in, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel.
The manhwa starts with showing us the sky and a big creature flying through it, and a man explaining that on that day, a wyvern flew in circles high in the sky, freer than anything he'd ever seen, as he's staring at it from the ground. He says that alone was why he, a worker of the great magical house, Declan, decided to retire as a troubleshooter. It is the one and only reason, as that is the free will of the sky. It jumps to somewhere else, as a bird is cawing ominously. We hear the man saying that, now he is the last one left. The bird flies off, and we see, underneath the cloudy skies, a man being force-choked. He says that it seems that number one was hiding his skills, as that is not the power a mere troubleshooter should have. Number one says that he'll be the one asking questions. He pulls out a book, asking if this is a magic tome. The guy being choked says yes, then asks if he could do it a little tighter, but wonders if he really thought that all of them came here just to take down one hunting dog. But number one says that if it's trash like House Declan, then he guesses a whole pack would show up, and he asks him how to use it. The dude says he doesn't know. Number one says that if that greedy Declan knew, he wouldn't have buried it in that dusty basement. He doesn't even know how to use it, and yet they chased him this far. He says that means it's probably worth that much. The dude once more tells him to hand over the magic tome, and that he'll ask the head to show mercy, maybe even let him return to being a troubleshooter. Number one smiles, asking why he would ever do such an awful job again. He then asks the guy if there's any final words, and when he goes to curse at him, number one says that those are some admirable final words. A man then slowly begins approaching them, and number one instantly gets a chill run down his spine. He turns, realizing it's dangerous, as a man says that he's got pretty good instincts. Number one realizes how bad this is, because there can only be one person with such a vicious aura. As the man gets closer, he says it's a pleasure, and introduces himself as Faren von Declan, head of the magical house Declan on the eastern continent. Number one says this is bad, and Faren tells him that if he wouldn't mind, he'd like to take that tome from him, and they'll talk afterward. Number one says that it's been over a decade since he started as a troubleshooter. He has spent half his life with them, but this is the first time seeing the head in person. House Declan is one of the top magical families on the eastern continent. Its head is said to be the strongest mage in its history, and he wonders what kind of man he could be. As soon as he sees his evil face, number one says that this is just a straight pain in the ass. Faren is just confused, and number one asks if they want to take someone else's hard-earned loot, saying he's shameless. Faren laughs a little bit before he bursts out into full-blown laughter, but number one matches his freak. Number one says that he probably shouldn't have met that wyvern back then, and that it's unlucky that the head himself had to show up, as his aura is no joke. He's the most overwhelming mage he's ever seen. Faren says it would be easier to kill him and take the tome again, but he wants to cut to the chase, telling him to come back under the family's wing, and if he hands that tome over, he'll turn a blind eye to everything he's done. Number one doesn't reply, and Faren says that his talent is remarkable. After watching him fight, he can't believe they didn't recognize it sooner. He's just a filthy stray from the Grey Zone, and he's only mastered troubleshooter techniques, which are low level, yet they have such a high display of skill when he uses them, and with House Declan as his wings, he could soar high. Number one starts tuning him out and looking up at the sky, watching a bird fly, reminding him of the wyvern and how free it was. Faren tells him that he'll still need to return the tome, and number one says fine. Faren then says that's good, but number one says that he has a condition. If he gives him the head seat, he'll think about it. Faren starts to hold back his anger, and number one says surely he was watching the fight from earlier, before he starts squeezing the dude he had choked earlier, killing him finally. Number one says surely he can count how many have died to this. Faren gets pissed, saying that if this is how it's going to be, there's a good chance number one will die. Number one says that he's not wrong, but he charges for it anyway, saying that he's way too committed to care about the consequences anymore. As the auras start colliding, he says that he doesn't know what's longer or shorter until he measures it. Faren says that it looks like he needs to take him down a notch, and stretches his hand out, creating a magic circle that summons an earth spear from underneath number 1. He then creates another one, and this time it appears directly in front of number 1, who realizes this is bad, as the attack has an instant follow-up. Luckily, number 1 manages to dodge to the side, saying that this is what it means to be the head of a prestigious family, and there's not a single opening in his defense. Faren asks if he's lost in thought. As number 1 runs into a magical barrier, which catches him off guard, Faren says that he thought it was funny. He just mentioned having to measure before knowing if something's shorter or longer, but there's also some things that you just know without measuring. As number 1 puts his hand on the barrier, he looks up at a giant magic circle, and Faren says that this is just how big the gap is between the two of them, and number 1 can't do anything but watch helplessly as the attack flies in. Faren says that he didn't kill him, he just roughed him up a bit, and he asks if he's ready to talk now. The dust from the attack begins to settle, and number 1 asks if he bowed his head, and agreed to work as his shadow if he'd live. Faren asks if he really is meant to believe that, and we see number 1 preparing an attack, saying that as if he'd ever say that anyways. Number 1 is pulling out that spirit gun from Yu Yu Hakusho. As he starts charging it up, he says that he's done being their dog, and he fires out a massive energy beam directly towards the family head, but he gets blocked easily. Number 1 asks why he would even go back to being their dog, saying that just because the leash is shiny and the house is big doesn't mean it's not a kennel. Faren calls him pathetic, and raises his cane slightly before tapping it on the ground. As he's beginning to create a magic circle underneath him this time, we see a small one, but then it scales to be a gigantic size covering the entire area around them. Faren says that he just wanted to show him overwhelming power, so he can regret his final moments. Number 1 looks up, saying that this is honestly how he expected it to go as soon as he ran into Faren. As lightning begins surging throughout the entire sky, number 1 says that now that he thinks about it, that is why that day when he suddenly looked up at the sky, the wyvern flying overhead looked so free. And then, because the reason he looked up that day was none other than because of House Declan to begin with. As he comes back to, Faren says that it's impressive that he held out, as he really thought he would die, asking if he really feels the difference in power now. Hazy, number 1 looks over, saying that he's really strong. Faren then asks if he's ready to talk now, or if he wants to finish what he left unsaid. Number 1 asks if he wants him to be a troubleshooter again, and Faren says that he wasn't asking him to be one of those, but instead he wants him to be the head of the Bongshan family. Number 1, surprised that he wants him to be the head of a family, says that House Declan is powerful enough to challenge the throne, and yet they want him to swear loyalty as one of their vassal families. Number 1 says that must have been their goal all along. Faren says that he can tell that he's underestimating his own worth, and he wants both him and the tome. Number 1 pulls it out and stretches it out towards him, and Faren says he made the good choice, and this will settle all of his crimes. But as he goes to grab it, number 1 begins burning it with his aura. Faren asks what the hell he's doing, and number 1 asks what it looks like, as he never said that he had to get it back intact. Faren goes to tell him that he'll never get to die easily, and number 1 tells him just to shut up and listen. He was never in this for the money. Being a troubleshooter doesn't pay well anyways, so the only reason he kept this thing is because it's tied to money. Asking if he's ever heard of the troubleshooter eaten by Declan's young master. Faren says that is forbidden magic. Number 1 says exactly, and that bastard devoured his teammates, and their family covered it up. Faren asks if this is about revenge, and number 1 says that it's not that deep, as he knows all troubleshooters' lives are cheap, and so is his. As he looks back up at this guy, he says that he just figured he'd make sure they got what they probably would have wanted, but that takes a lot of money. And also, he finally made up his mind to retire, so no way he's crawling back into the kennel. Faren tells him to consider that his last words, and snaps his fingers. As a blue aura starts to fly out from him, enveloping number 1, Faren says this is their prized blue flame. It's a flame that never dies out. And he's going to burn in it, and regret his choice with every fiber of his being. Number 1 says that he'd never regret it. And as he starts to burn to death, he says the only other option is being their dog, and he'd rather go back to the gray zone. And if he can't do that, then dying is not such a bad deal. He starts laughing in the face of death, saying that he has never felt this free in his entire life, and it's a shame he won't escape alive, and if he's ever born once more, he'll find freedom and get revenge properly this time. As the fire starts to get to its peak, something strange happens. As number 1 is completely fine now, he wonders what's going on, and looks around, saying that everything has been frozen. And he does a double take, making sure that he's not losing his mind. He says it must be the tome, as it's still in his hand. And then begins to float up into the sky, and a golden magic array is placed on his chest. Number 1 wonders what the hell this is, and what is happening. When number 1 opens his eyes again, he sees a coin being dropped into a bucket. He's confused, as he was just burning to death, and something starts to feel off. He wonders where he is. He says that this place feels very familiar to him though. And then he remembers exactly where he is, as this is the gray zone, the place he begged for each day before becoming a troubleshooter, and also where he asked to return. He says there's no way, asking if he's really gone back in time. Later in the day, he heads to a river, asking what in the world happened. As he's looking at his reflection, he says this is definitely him, but he's younger now. And if there's one part he hates, it's definitely this mark on his chest. He's gone back in time, but this thing has stayed. He doesn't know how, but the magic tome definitely was involved. And maybe that this was the thing it was capable of to begin with. The fact that the lazy Declan family head came personally just shows how important of a relic it was. As important as it is, there's not much info known about it. He decides to say screw it, he's not going to question it whatsoever, and just live the life he wants. It's too vivid to be a dream, so he doubts it. The stench of sewage from the lecture hall is way too real, so he's definitely alive. And he's not just alive, but this is now a situation where anything he does could succeed. But what exactly does he want in this life? He says that he used to have a dream in the past. It was also his comrade's dream as well. The reason he decided to retire. As his comrade calls out to him, he also calls him number 1, but then calls him by his name, which we finally learn is Aster. His comrade says that they were born as vagrants in the gray zone and have nothing. They couldn't dress well, eat well, or even get educations. And he asks Aster what he thinks was the most painful. Aster says not eating. He says that if it had just been hunger, they wouldn't have ended up here. And he asks him what he thinks dragged their lives down to this point. Aster says he's fine, as he's picking his nose. And the dude says that the reason their lives ended up in the gutter. Aster once more says that he's fine with it. The dude starts getting pissed, and Aster says that he'll talk. He can't believe that he's mean mugging him. His comrade says that not being educated was the most bitter. If they had learned and studied, they would not be living like this, enslaved by those bastards. And if he ever retires, then there's only one thing that he wants, that is to build a library. Aster says that is a pretty crazy dream. It's a place where anyone, regardless of money, status, or gender, can freely read books. But he wants to take it one step further. He wants to build a tower. And there's no reason. He just likes tall things. The location doesn't matter either. He'll put it all in a book. But there's one that must absolutely be there, and he'll place Declan's secret manual right at the front entrance on the first floor. So even the vagrants from the gray zone, illegitimate noble children, or butcher sons, could carry a copy. The cover will bear the Declan crest. And inside will be the secret techniques they treasure more than life. Just imagining it is making his mouth water. The problem is how he's going to get his hands on the manual. But that is for the future him to deal with. Either way, if he spreads Declan's manual far and wide, they will definitely love it to death. And that's going to be his plan. As soon as he says this, he gets kicked straight in the side of the head. And as he starts to fall over, the guy says that he's been looking for him. He was keeping his seat, and yet he was just hiding out here, asking if he wants to die. The dude starts stomping him. Aster wonders who this is and why he's being ambushed. He says that he survived countless battles, as he's a veteran troubleshooter. He then catches the guy's foot, and the dude is surprised that he's blocking him. Aster says he hit him 7 times, so he's going to hit him 70 in return, as he readies his fist. The guy looks scared, and Aster goes for an uppercut but misses entirely. Instead we hear his wrist crack. Aster wonders what the hell is going on and why it hurt. The dude then returns by hitting him straight in the face, asking why a punk like him would ever throw hands, asking if he's crazy. Aster says it hurts like hell, but what hurts more than the heart is the body, as that was embarrassing as hell. The guy then trips on a rock and starts to stumble backwards, falling into the shit river. Aster says now's his chance, as the dude is spitting out actual sewage from his mouth. Aster runs away, and the dude asks where he thinks he's going to go. Aster says this isn't actually running away, and that it's a tactical retreat, and he'll remember this guy's face. They hit, he landed on him, and he's going to wear them on his chest like a medal, as he's a veteran troubleshooter. A man who doesn't know the word quit. Back inside the alleys, he says that this is serious. He wasn't just some pencil pusher, and he sprained his wrist while punching, meaning his body is way too weak. He says that he needs to hold off on the tower dream and fix his body first. He then hears someone asking him if he's hungry, and he looks over, seeing another child staring at him. Aster asks if he knows who he is, and the kid says no. Aster says he figured as much. The kid's a mess, but his clothes are mad expensive, and it's probably a noble who fell from grace in some power struggle. In other words, it's a walking pretty little bomb. Aster calls out to him, calling him a kid, and the kid says that his name is actually Damian. Aster says okay, and the kid then tells him his mom's name is Bianca, and Aster just wonders why it feels like he's learning things he shouldn't. Aster asks if he's not right in the head, and the kid says that he doesn't have a mom. Aster realizes now that this kid is genuinely slow, and says, "My bad," and he doesn't have a dad, so he wins, and they should go their separate ways. He's doing his best to not get involved, but they bomb like that, and he wants to ditch him before things get messy. Damian stays there standing, and Aster just asks why he's not leaving. Damian says he's going to go with him, and Aster debates hitting him. Aster tells him to piss off, and the kid asks if his wrist doesn't hurt, as he stretches his hand out towards him. He says that he'll heal it, and he begins casting magic. Aster's surprised by this, as his wrist begins to heal, and Damian says that it's the magic touch. Aster says that this is not just a magic touch, and the light of healing is a secret family art of the Blander family, which fell because of Declan, and his troubleshooter instincts are telling him that he's getting into something that is dirty and dangerous. But why is a Blander child in the gray zone? At this time, Blander should still be strong. Aster says Damian's name a couple times, and Damian's tone starts to shift a little. We see his eyes are actually two separate colors, and he asks if he called for him. Aster says oh shit, and he remembers now there was a member of the Blander bloodline with odd eyes. As he's staring directly at them, he says that this is the monster of Blander, the mad butcher who won't die even if you kill him, Damian von Blander. Damian's looking down at the ant, super excited, and Aster asks if this is seriously the same dude, as this kid just seems slow. Aster explains that back before his regression, he went to the Blander family on the orders of the Declan family. He and his comrade wondered why they were the ones that got called, but it's not like they can really tell what the higher-ups are thinking. Their comrade says that he heard there was a monster at the Soft Estate, and supposedly dozens have died. Aster asks if it's like an ogre or something, wondering what he means by monster. And that is when he saw it. Not an ogre or any kind of monster, but rather, it was a monster in human form. A person was easily tearing apart another, casting unique healing magic endlessly, laughing as he fought, which was pure madness. And this is how he became the monster of Blander, and why they said that even if you killed him, he wouldn't die. Aster says, but still, why would a direct descendant of the Blander family, the only son of the head, be in such a shabby place? Damian just says food, and Aster asks what he means. And Damian says that he wants to go eat. His mom said that if he wants to stay healthy, he needs to eat well, and that Aster's sick because he doesn't eat. Aster says he's right. It's not like he's wrong with his statement. He asks if he's got any money. Damian pulls out a whole bucket full of it, and Aster wraps his hand around him, saying that now they are friends. Damian asks why all of a sudden, and Aster says if he says they're friends, then they are, and friends should share what they have. And he tells him it's time to go and eat. Damian's instantly falling for the friend trap. Damian asks Aster what he is since they're meant to be sharing. Aster says that he only has his friend, and Damian says that shit was tough. Later that night, Aster lets out a big burp and says that was a good meal. After washing up, he feels refreshed, too. He sees Damian looking around confused, and Aster asks what he's doing. Damian says that he didn't know there was a house above the place they ate, as he always slept outside, and it's the first time he's realized this. Aster says he sees. Then Damian says that he wanted to mention this earlier, and that he doesn't have a dad, either. Aster says he does though, and Damian says he doesn't. He can't believe this kid's treating it like a competition. And Aster says that he wonders why he said he didn't have a mom when he told him her name. Damian looks around saying that he doesn't see her anywhere here, and Aster says that this guy has a headache, and he decides to learn more about the situation. He asks Damian how long he's been here alone. Damian says that since he's ran away from his family, he has slept 10 times. Aster wonders if he is being chased, asking if he means 10 days. Damian says that he naps a lot, and sometimes he'll nap twice a day, and that he slept a total of 10 times. Aster asks if it's only been 3 or 4 days. Damian says that he doesn't know, but he hasn't napped since he got here. The ground's too uncomfortable. Aster gets tired of this, looks at his pillow, and says that this kid is way too damn much. He starts screaming into it. He then says that while he's stuck in the gray zone, he can act as his nanny. It wouldn't be bad to form a connection with the Blander family, and it'll help later off when he faces against the Declans. And also, prestigious families have lots of books. Of course, there's something he has to take care of first. It's the 70 grudges etched into his chest. He tells Damian that he's going to lay down, so not to bother him. And if he does, it'll be a big problem. Damian asks if he's going to practice his breathing then. Aster says yes, and when he's done, he can do it too, and he'll wait. Damian says he's got it. And Aster takes a deep breath, saying that in his past life, he laid his foundation in magic through the standard issue spells given to troubleshooters. But the limits were clear. That's why he snuck into various noble houses and stole spells, and he has nearly lost his life, and he's been in the dark for a long time. He has nearly died many times as a result. The spells he learned like that are the heart and body technique used by knights, spirit magic, summoning and alchemy, and a bunch of other random arts. But right before he died, he encountered a power that was truly a catastrophe, which is very befitting of the strongest mage in history. And that is why this time for sure, he's going to learn the Declan's foundational art, the Heavenly Origin Technique. A root art of all Declan spells, able to accommodate all attributes of mana. He memorized it once for research, and now he finally gets the chance to use it. As he starts to try to do the breathing technique, the golden magic circle on his chest begins burning with an intense heat. Aster says it feels like lava is coursing through his body, and he asks what's going on. He tells himself to focus, as he can come out of this. He looks down, at his hands surprised, as his impurities are seeping out of his body. He asks why these are here. As a high-level spell only used by elite mages and noble families, or those that are used only on direct bloodlines, they often have this occur where it forces mana to burn through the impurities that are blocking the circuits. It is often also called a mana shower, as Aster can feel himself having every impurity burned away. He then gasps as he opens his eyes back in reality, and asks how much time has passed. He looks over and sees Damian knocked out. He says more importantly, no impurities left in his circuit, and since his mana has been purified, it's even better than his past life. Even so, he's not sure if it's enough to beat Faren, because even if he was born 100 times, that might be impossible. But one thing is for sure, and that his chances have just increased. And he's never given up, even when the odds were near zero. The next day, we see Damian excited that his hair is now brown. Aster says that he had to cover his platinum-colored hair, and he changes clothes too, so he should not be caught by the Blander family for now. The only thing left is for them to head out. Damian asks what they're going to do now, calling him a friend. Aster looks over, and then smiles, saying they're going to go cause some chaos. As we see a guy in an alley, he says that that was a good nap, and the weather is really nice. He then spots Aster, asking what the youngest is doing here, and where the hell he was running off to, wondering why he looks so clean, jokingly saying he showered in the sewer. He then asks about Damian, saying the brat looks rich, and Aster hits him in the stomach. He says that it looks like he's found the right place, and since he is still in his memory, he's here to return the hits he is owed. Some other guys start to run out of the building, asking what's wrong, and we learn that the guy's name is Spotty. Aster and the rest are surrounded in an instant, and people recognize him as the youngest. Aster says they are all familiar faces, and this sure is scary, but it's going to be scarier for them. He wonders how far he'll get today. Aster hits one of the dudes straight in the face, followed by another in the gut. Bro is loving every minute of this. And Damian is just watching as Aster is beating the shit out of all of them. He says that he's using mana, clenching his fist tightly, and striking repeatedly, and it sure is amazing. Aster says to Damian, he should say that it's awesome, and it just makes Damian think he's way cooler than he actually is. One of the dudes lands in front of Damian, and Damian notices that he's injured and says not to worry, as he'll heal him. He does so, and the guy thanks him before Aster picks him up, saying that this is perfect because now he can just beat them without worrying that he'll kill them. And all we hear is them screaming for hours until they're all on the floor holding their asses, and we see Aster swinging something. And we see the guy that was beating him by the river getting paddled. Aster asks him how many times he hit him, and the dude says that he doesn't remember. Aster then calls it to Damian, and Damian asks if it's his turn, and it turns out that they're just healing and beating over and over, and the dude says that they need to stop this. Aster tells him to listen carefully one more time, and that he has brought this upon himself while Damian is just going crazy healing him. And the guy says that he doesn't know, because he genuinely just can't count. Later that night, Aster thanks them all for today, and they thank him back. Aster says the energy is well placed, and he feels pretty proud, and Damian just wants to play again later. Aster is also proud of himself for excellently completing over 100 hits per person for a total of over 1,000. This was a new challenge even for him, and he once more says that this is easy for a veteran troubleshooter who has been through every battle except mountain and aerial combat. It's a running gag at this point. The guy from earlier then calls out to him, asking if they can go now as they've all had enough. Aster says they can, and the dude tells him that this is actually his house. Aster asks if he's trying to tell them to get lost, saying that's a bit difficult. The dude says no, and they will be the ones to leave. Aster says this is not resentment, it really is difficult. And while they wave off their new best friends, Aster can sense that somebody is coming straight towards them, and they are hella fast. He says they are also being secretive, and it's a unique presence just like a troubleshooter, and it's probably a pursuer after Damian. He was being careful in his own way, so how did they find him? And he can't believe that the blander came first. If it's this much mana, even a single magic spell is difficult, and hand-to-hand combat will be too. He says that's not good. But in the end, take a shot every time. He says he was a veteran troubleshooter. He says that he's always lived facing situations like this, and it's not unfamiliar. He starts to gather all of the mana to his fingertips once more, using the spirit gun. He starts compressing it over and over until the point where he's happy with it, saying that this is enough. He quickly turns, as his jacket starts flying in the wind, he aims it down, saying that this is his only chance as the pursuer is now directly in front of them. The guy drops to his knees, which catches Aster off guard, and he starts to do a rock and roll slide all the way forward, screaming out, saying that he's so glad to see his young master. Damian yells, asking what Alfred is doing here. Holy shit, I was just making a Batman joke, but his name is Alfredo. He says that he doesn't know how long they've been looking for him, wondering where he's been and what he's been doing, and that he couldn't sleep a wink because of his worries. Damian tells him to get off, and Alfredo says that he won't do it. He won't let go until he returns to the family, and to kill him instead. Aster is just cringing at this situation. Alfredo says that he's sorry for making a fuss in front of a guest and introduces himself as Alfredo, the butler of the Blander family. Aster introduces himself as well. Alfredo says that the young master really likes him, and if it's alright, he could come with them to their family. Aster thinks about it, saying that they're a prestigious family, and their basic rule is to reject anything dirty and avoid anything noble. He can't figure out their true intentions, but it doesn't matter because he was going to try and form a connection with them. Conveniently, their family's territory is on a path that leads to the city. Xenian Academy is said to be the best in the East, and its library is also said to be the best as well. He's going to build the best library in the world, so it would be a bad idea not to stop and take a look. He says that he understands, thanking Alfredo. Alfredo says that he'll go get the carriage, telling him to wait. Aster says he's strayed a little bit from the path, but this will be a good thing, and that it's time for him to go see if the Blander family's food tastes any good. They head out that night, and they arrive at the estate. Alfredo welcomes Aster to the Blander family. Aster hops off the whip and says that this will be his first official time coming here. The Blander family's mansion. Alfredo says that it's late, so they should rest, and he tells one of the maids named Lancy that he's counting on her. She then scolds Damian, telling him to follow her. Damian laughs nervously and yells, saying that he committed a mistake while he runs away. Further in the estate, we see Alfredo walking down the halls. He knocks on a door as the woman tells him to enter. He does so, and she asks about Damian. Alfredo says that he was in the 7th black and white zone, and he's on his way after bringing him home. He stands there for a second before she explodes something on her desk, as we see her cast a magic circle, asking what the hell he was doing there and if Damian's okay. Saying surely nothing's happened to him, as if there's even a hair's worth of trouble with her son, she'll lose her mind. Alfredo tells her to calm down and listen to what he has to say. We see her sitting down, listening, and says that it sure is a relief as she undoes her magic circle. Alfredo says that it's fortunate for her, and it's also fortunate for the person who might have harmed the young master, as the fury of a mother who was once called the Blood Witch will know no bounds, and there will be nobody to stop it. Besides, if it's about her son, she loses control, and he's glad it ended with this much. She says that he worked hard, and he tells her not to mention it, as it was something he had to do. However, there is one unusual thing to mention. She asks what it is, and he says that it's about the friend he made. Bianca asks what is unusual about him, and Alfredo tells her that Aster noticed his presence before he even showed himself. He was already prepared for a counterattack, and when they faced each other, what was in the boy's hand was actually none other than a mana bullet. She says that is certainly an astonishing talent. A child with that kind of ability shouldn't be in the gray zone. Alfredo says that's exactly why he has a favor that he needs to ask her about. The next day, Alfredo very confidently asked Aster to become his successor. Aster wonders what the hell he's talking about, and Alfredo is just confident that he won't say no because he's a butler of a prestigious family, and it's an opportunity for a stray from the slums to gain high income. Aster says no instantly, and Alfredo wonders why the hell not, and if he's really hearing this right, that he doesn't have any plans to become his successor. Damian chimes in, asking what this means, and Aster thanks him very much that he considered him the successor, but he thinks he prefers things the way they are now. He honestly means that. Alfredo starts thinking of why he would decline him and then thinks about it, saying that he was born a vagrant in the gray zone with nothing, and he learned magic through natural talent, and that's probably why he's so full of himself. He says that he understands, that he too was born into an ordinary family and ran wild without knowing his limits. Then he tells Aster the world is vast. Aster says that he knows this and that it's not small. Alfredo then says that right now, he feels he could probably do anything and conquer it all. Aster says not really. Alfredo starts to get pissed but tells himself to endure, and he asks if he's heard the saying of a goblin in the canyon, and that's exactly where he is right now, raised only in the canyon, unaware of the dangers. Aster says that he thinks he's more like a wyvern though. And of course, he's talking about his freedom. This makes Alfredo snap, and he says that he doesn't know shit, therefore he will personally show him, as a butler, just how vast and terrifying this world truly is. They head to the butler's chambers, and Alfredo bursts through the door with Aster behind. All the other butlers turn, surprised, and greet him. They are out here training, like academy students. Alfredo then asks what he thinks. They are all around his age, but officially recognize talents of the house, and he's sure that he can sense something. Aster says that they're no joke, and it's hard to believe they're still in their teens with how well trained they are. Their aura, while it's subtle, fills the whole space. But to look at their eyes they're a bunch of goblins after all. And Aster says that he does feel something. Alfredo then asks if he'll accept his proposal. If he succeeds, he'll shine just like these kids. Rather, he'll shine brighter than anyone. Aster says that he actually hates the light, and Alfredo asks why. One of the boys raises his hand, calling out to Alfredo. His name is Winster. Alfredo asks what he wants. Winster says that if that boy really felt something, he wouldn't have turned down his offer, but seeing him reject it, he thinks that he just hasn't. If he allows him, he'd like to give him some experience. Alfredo asks if he's trying to have a duel, and Winster says not exactly. Just a little taste of what magic is. Alfredo says it's a bit cocky, but it's not a bad idea, and he asks Aster what he thinks. If he wants to have a duel with the young man. Aster says that he knows just how much of a thorn he is in their side, as they all think of him as nothing but a lucky vagrant bastard who rolled in from nowhere. Aster asks if he can choose his opponent, and Alfredo tells him to go ahead. Aster points at Winster and then points at multiple other people behind him as well, saying that he'll take on 5 at once. Winster's confused, and Aster asks if they're scared, saying to bring it on already. Alfredo's a little taken aback and then starts chuckling before erupting into full-blown laughter, saying that this is the spirit a successor should have. He asks if he can take responsibility for those words, as they might be mistaken as him insulting their house. Aster says that he'll take responsibility, and Alfredo says this is good. If he lasts 1 minute, he'll give him a gift, but if he doesn't, he'll hold him responsible. Aster says that that probably means he'll have to succeed him as a butler, and that he's trying to rope him in. Aster agrees, and they head to the training grounds. One of the guys asks Alfredo if this is not dangerous. Alfredo says that's why it's valuable. His stubbornness needs to be broken at some point for him to grow. The dude says that this is no good, and if he injures the young master's guest, his instructor career is over. He then looks down at Damian, wondering what he thinks, and he says that his friend is in real danger and to stop him. Damian says that he's really shocked too, and the instructor says he forgot how stupid this kid is. Lancey then tells Damian that if he gets involved, he will be scolded. Damian pouts. Alfredo asks the instructor what he's doing, telling him to start the match already. He says understood, and he starts to sigh, saying that orders are orders and he did his best. Lancey lectures Damian and then turns around, thinking about something. She tells Damian she'll be back, so to stay out of it. He says that he's got it and laughs evilly. The instructor says he's going to explain the rules, and the duel will be turn-based. Alfredo says just to make it a free throw, and the instructor says whatever, and says that will be the new rules, and that it will continue until one side surrenders. However, the instructor may stop the duel at any time, so to keep that in mind. As they start their stare down, Winster is pissed, saying that Alfredo may pity him, but he shouldn't think that he owns the world, and that he'll crush him and expose his true worth. The instructor, regretful, swings his hand, signaling the start of the match. Winster gets hit in the stomach instantly, causing him to lose his breath. As he starts trying to re-catch it, he turns after hearing stuff fall behind him and sees all of his friends are now on the ground, clenching their stomachs as well. Aster steps forward, saying that it looks like it's best he give them the experience himself, and that they shouldn't underestimate the little guy. Winster is surprised that he's using Magic Bullet, as its basic mana control, and the cost is so high that it's useless in combat. Aster then tells him that the second thing he should learn is that he can't judge others so easily, as he shoots out his magic bullets. He starts headshotting all of the kids one after the other, and he says that third, the world is vast and bitter. As he closes the gap, he hits him straight in the face, sending him flying. He says from now on, he's going to inject all of these experiences into him, and they need to learn well. Winster calls him a lunatic, saying this isn't magic. Aster says it is though, as he's imbuing himself with it, meaning it's physical magic. The instructor is surprised, and so are all the other butlers, as Aster is effortlessly ripping them all apart. Alfredo says that's crazy, to think it's a magic bullet, wondering how many times it was compressed. Judging by the power, it had to be compressed at least 4 or 5 times. And if back then that had hit properly, he wouldn't be here today. He says that is truly innate mana control. On top of that, he wonders how the hell he's so good at beating people up. And Damian's over there healing them. We then hear Bianca call out to Alfredo, and he turns in a panic, wondering what she's doing here. The instructor sees her as well, saying that Lancey did this to save them. She nods her head subtly. And Bianca asks what happened here. Alfredo says that he just wanted to run a simple test. Bianca asks about what, saying that there's no way this could be considered one. She then scolds Damian for being a part of it, saying that he needs to gather the trainees and have them withdraw. Alfredo agrees, and she tells Damian to return to his room, as well as Aster. She then calls out to the instructor named Runfit, and he says that he did his best. She fires him. Why did bro deserve this? Later that night, Bianca calls out to Alfredo, saying that she knows what his intentions were, but that he went too far. He apologizes, saying that he lost his temper and he'll accept his punishment. She then puts her tea down, saying that she heard that they sparred, asking what exactly happened and if Damian helped. Alfredo says no he didn't, but it's more than that. She asks him to explain. And he says that he was incredibly good at hating people, and he's super proud. He then apologizes, saying that it's about the magic bullet he mentioned before. He used it in the sparring today as well, but he compressed it at least 4 or 5 times, increasing the power. She says that means he has excellent control over mana, and she didn't see it, but it must have been quite a spectacle. He defeated 5 trainees alone, with just magic bullets. No matter how high level a mage is, handling pure mana is difficult. She asks about the successor proposal, and Alfredo says that he rejected that shit instantly. She picks up her teacup, saying she sees, and that she needs to reassess Aster and come up with a better evaluation of him. She tells Alfredo to bring him here. A little later, we see Aster entering, and she tells him to have a seat, as Damian's munching on some snacks. Aster says that he heard she called for him, and she said that she did, but before that, she slides something forward and he asks what it is. She says that it's the gift Alfredo promised. Aster says he does remember that, but he didn't expect it to be prepared by her. She tells him to open it, and when he does so, we see a bright golden light. He's surprised, and she says that it's a high-grade item that even only recruits in the top 5 mage divisions of Blander can receive. Aster says that he doesn't know. Generally, good intentions stop at a meal, and if gifts start getting involved, it means there's a hidden agenda. Even if it's a wager reward, a mid-grade gift would be understandable, but a high-grade one is too much. She can tell that he's hesitant, and tells him to do it without worry. He helped Damian in the gray zone, and this also includes their apology for what happened today. He asks if he has to join Blander if he eats this, and she says no. He asks if there's any poison, and she says no. He asks if she's truly saying there are no conditions. She says there aren't any, and it's a gift. He thanks her, and she says it's nothing much. Damian needs to stop eating sweets, bro's gonna catch some diabetes. Aster says this is an unexpectedly nice game, and she says aside from that, she has something she would like to propose. Aster, of course, says he knew it. She pats Damian's head, saying that she'll arrange an academy admission for him, wanting him to go with Damian. As originally, Damian was supposed to enroll last year, but he strongly opposed it, so it got postponed to this year. Though she didn't expect him to run away like this, and that's why she's asking him, because Damian likes him. Damian says that if his friend goes, he's fine with it, and Aster says this makes sense. For Bianca, it's a big deal. She's afraid that if she forces it, he'll just run away again, and there's no obvious way to change his mind. This isn't a bad opportunity for him either. The academy's good. In this world moved by blood ties and connections, getting an academic tie helps a lot. He does think that it's great, but he feels like they're putting a leash on him. He tells her he'll think about it, and she tells him to let her know once he does. She then says this is unrelated, but she's curious, wondering why he rejected Alfredo's proposal. Aster can tell he's listening, and smiles, saying that he recalls when they first met, he slid, and that his knees are way too precious. She asks what the hell that even means, and Alfredo, listening, also wonders if that's actually the reason.
We got plenty more where that came from. Hit the subscribe button and stay tuned for even more amazing content.